Hi, my name is Kari, and I'm a master relationship coach, and I'm so excited to share today on Conversations with Pearl.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire. Oh, and I forgot about me for way too long. But it's rolled on. Now there ain't no shade around here. Once you leave the clouds, you're under. Ain't it funny how there ain't no rain or clear? Why'd it take so long to leave you in the rearview mirror? Now nobody gonna steal my sunshine or turn my blue sky gray. All I know is at the end of the day, wildflowers grow when there ain't no shade.
Hey everybody, it's Pearl again. Welcome to another Conversations with Pearl. I'm so excited. As you guys know, I love having really powerful women that can help you in your self-care, help you develop the overcoming the people pleaser world, and just enjoy your life that you're supposed to be as that Shiro that you are. And today's no different. Today we have a master relationship coach, strategic interventionist, best-selling author of Get Out of the Box and Into Play, The Secret to a Lasting Relationship, and the owner of Highest Intent Life Coaching, Kari Petruch, has been helping people all over the world for a lifetime. She is mother of 3, a grandmother of 8, and married to the man of her dreams. Kari helps couples to find even more joy and excitement in their relationships using her amazing Relationship Reignition Program. She is contributing author in the Wall Street best-selling program book called WTF to OMG. Kari has future plans to create a fabulous couples retreat. And you guys know I love retreats. If you follow me, you know we have our pajama retreat. So I'm all about finding a great retreat that helps you improve anything and everything in your life. So excited to have you on the show today, Kari. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. So tell us, Kari, we all have that one point in our life when we realize something in our life is I need to change, right? And then as you make that change, you realize I'm not the only person that probably could use this great tool I've learned. So what, Kari, brought you into the world of what you do today and empowering couples that you're doing?
What brought me into the world to do what I do today is being in a really bad abusive relationship for a very, very long time. And so I decided that I wanted to find the man of my dreams. And I went and got help. And then I realized that I could help other people to do what I do. And I started on this path to help couples to either reignite or help women to find that person that they want to spend the rest of their life with. Relationships became very, very important to me, including my own relationship. And I just kept going. And I've been in business doing what I do for 5 years now.
That is so cool. And you're right. First, our relationship with ourselves is really, really important. And to know, what is it that I want and who do I want? I love to share the story when I used to just concentrate on weight loss part of coaching before I went into this world of life coaching. I had a client come to me and she thought I was crazy. Anytime my clients would come to me, they thought I was going to put them on a scale right away. Let's talk about how much weight you want to lose. I was like, no, we're not talking about that first. I want to know, why are you here? What brought you in my door? Yes, I know you need to lose weight, but why? What's happening in your life? And I had this one client, she's like, well, I want to meet a man. I've been divorced for 10 years. I want to meet a man. I'm like, okay, so tell me all about him. And she's like, what's that got to do with my weight loss? I go, it has everything to do with your weight loss, because evidently that's one of the things that's keeping you from moving forward in your health, right? And so, we had a whole conversation through our session. And we, of course, at the end of the session, I measured her and I weighed her, but I gave her homework assignment every week. And her first homework assignment was to write out what she wanted from this relationship. What does he look like? Was he married before? Did he have kids? Does he have grandkids? Is he active? What's his religion? Is that whatever was important to her? She had to put in a piece of paper. And she just thought I had 3 eyes and I was crazy, right? And so each week we would do this homework, Kari, and And each week I was helping to like really hone in on manifesting who this person was in her life, right? And she would do, I would have her do drawing art. Sometimes I even had her draw a picture of him. She's like, I'm terrible. I'm like, I don't care about the art. I need you to understand the process of what you can have is there.
Right.
We just have to work for it. And the funny story was,
Well,
go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
So the funny story, let me show you this, is that she graduated off the program. She's doing great. I would say 6 months later, I run into her at the local grocery store and she's like, oh my God, I need you to meet somebody. I'm like, okay. And this man comes around the corner from the produce area. And he was exactly like she'd drawn a picture of everything. And she's like, this is so-and-so. And I looked at him and I go, I've met you before. And he goes, we have. I go, have her explain to you how I met you before. So it's,
absolutely.
Yeah, it was so powerful.
Yeah, it's really wonderful that you talk about that because I truly believe in that, and that is how my husband and I got together. I wrote a manifest list down and of what I wanted in the man of my dreams, and he wrote his own manifest list down and the woman of his dreams. And what was interesting is we had first started dating, and he wanted me to see his house. And I agreed to go see his house, but then we were going to leave, because I was very cautious about relationships. And I had to go to the restroom, and I went into the restroom, and on his mirror was a beautiful, beautiful manifest list of what he wanted in a woman. And what was completely mind blowing to me is that the date on his manifest list was the same date as my manifest. Exactly.
Oh my gosh, how cool.
And I wasn't even thinking about love or marriage or anything, and just stood there for the longest time, just staring at it with my mouth open, going, oh wow. And he really is the man of my dreams. He makes me feel like I'm his queen, and I love to make him feel like he's my king. It's just such magic. So I do have a strong belief in manifestation. I really do.
Yeah, I think, I met my husband when I was 19 years old. And the funny thing is we had met at Knott's Berry Farm and we were at a company picnic. We lived like 2 hours away from each other in LA. And, him and his roommate, we ran into, together with myself and my roommate, and they were walking around with these two other girls. And so we just assumed they were together, and then all of a sudden these two girls are gone and we're having fun. That was back in the day. They had an outdoor dance area. So we were dancing and stuff like that. We were just hitting it off, and we were actually the last two cars in the parking lot. And so all of a sudden his car is about to be towed away, and he's like, oh, I gotta go. And I'm like, oh, I better go too, because my car's probably going to be next. So we go to my car, my roommate and I, and she's like, you're going to marry him. I'm like, really? He doesn't have my phone number. I don't know much about him. Here you are telling me I'm going to marry this man. She goes, oh no, they have our phone number. And here we are almost 40 years later the day we met, that, we've been married almost 36 years. I never, I was 19, manifesting, journaling, had no clue how that worked. Right. But now over the years, it's like everything that I do, including with my goals and my visions for myself, it's all around that manifestation and what I want. Now, it's funny you talk about the writing. I remember when we were selling our home, we downsized about 2.5 years ago. I had in the mirror like positive affirmations, like I do that now. And I remember my realtor at the time, she's like, you're going to have to take that stuff off the mirror. And I said, oh, no. If they don't like my affirmations, they just don't buy my house. I'm not taking it off my mirror. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. Right. But now I've come a different way with it now, Kari, and this is over probably the last 2 months. Another friend of mine who happens to be named Kari as well, she shared with me, I don't even remember the girl who she saw online on TikTok, but a whole new way of like manifesting and affirmations that you say to yourself, instead of standing in the mirror and saying, I have abundance today, or I'm beautifully and wonderfully made. Ask yourself, in what actions am I going to do today that are going to bring me abundance, right? In what way am I going to make choices to keep me on my health journey? And I'm telling you, it's been amazing, Kari, the last 2 months, like doing that. I find myself during the day, I was a big people pleaser. So I find myself now during the day, it helps me stay on track with not being a people pleaser, because I can ask myself, is that really aligned with what I want? Right. So it's been so powerful the last 2 months, like changing that up. And so when you work with your clients, what are some of the steps that you take with them to help them, as we're talking about manifesting, affirm, and really recognizing who and how to find that person in their life?
Well, first off, I work with a lot of couples. I don't work with so many individuals, although I do sometimes work with them. I work with a lot of couples, and how I begin working with them is to bring them back to what brought them back together in the first place. I know a lot of couples who claim that their relationship is boring, or they're, yeah, some headed for a divorce because they are at an impasse, and I bring them back to that thing that happened that brought them together, and I begin to teach them how to woo each other again.
I like that, woo each other. And I like what you said, like bring them back to why they got together. That's so important to like re-ground yourself in what brought you both here, into this relationship. I saw some, I don't remember where it was, but I saw a post, I think it was on Facebook. It said, a couple was going in for counseling, and the counselor said, you can either choose to work on this now with this relationship, or you're going to work on it with the next relationship, because your habits are going to show up, right? So which relationship is more
Absolutely.
valuable?
Absolutely. That it is true. If you don't work on it, you're just gonna, someone once told me, if you don't work on this relationship, you're just going to turn around and find someone just like the person that you're doing. You're just going to keep rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat.
Right.
So, I did. I had to work on myself for a couple of years before I went searching for that person to be in my
Yeah.
life, because I had to get me first.
So what kind of things, like when you're helping the couples to sort of reground in that woo about what brought them, into each other's lives? What are some of the exercises you put? Like, tell us your top three exercises or top three, guidance that you give them to help them find that woo again.
Well, one of the major problems throughout humanity, it's not just couples. We all have this, and that is the failure to listen. If I first teach them that if you're sitting there thinking about the next thing you're going to say while someone's talking, you're not listening, and then I teach them how to listen with the heart. They have hand on hand, heart to heart, and learn how to really listen to each other without interruption. And that is one of the first exercises I have. The next exercise, usually I draw them to, is doing those things that they forgot. The things like holding hands. You get so caught up in life and the world that you forget, when you get out of the car, to hold each other's hands to walk into the store, or hold each other's hands while you're sitting at the table. Couples forget to do those things, and it's so vital. That physical connection is vital to both, for all kinds of couples. It's necessary. The next thing that I get them to do is to um, stop the blame game and the need to be right. And I teach them very carefully about what it looks like to be in the blame game, and what it looks like to be stuck in the need to be right. Um, the first thing I say to them, and I have them practice, is, does it need to be said? Does it need to be said by me? Does it need to be said by me right now? If in the heat of the moment you can think of those three things, usually those foul words will not come out of your mouth.
Okay, so to all our listeners, if you did not write that down, you're going to have to rewind. If you're driving, just know you can go back and watch us on YouTube, and you can write all that down. We'll have it in the show notes. But I just want to go back through that. So the first one's like, the failure to listen, like to listen. So one of the things that you know, because you're right, it can happen as you get comfortable, especially like me. I've been in a relationship for so long. You kind of get comfortable and you take advantage of the other person. And so Chuck and I came up with this thing, and it's been quite a few years now, but we came up with this thing that if we had something on in our mind that we needed to talk about, like something was bothering us or just whatever it was, that to respect the other person, that I might be ready to talk about it, but maybe he's not, right? So what we did is we came up with this thing saying, are you open to receiving? So then we know, hey, something's on the other person's mind, and I'm asking for permission to talk about it now. And we had the commitment that if you're not ready to talk about it now, it's okay to say no, with the understanding that within 24 hours, we have to discuss it. Right. So therefore, I know my mindset over the next day. If he's not ready or I'm not ready, I know that I have to prepare my mindset to be ready to what he wants to share, and also not poke the bear to find out what they want to share. Right. Like, tell me what it is you want to talk about, and then, so that's been a big thing for us as well.
Oh, and that's an excellent tool. And when I'm working with couples, that is exactly what I do, is teach them to find their way of doing it, because no one knows the two of you like the two of you.
Right.
And Pearl, that you found a way to communicate with him so that you can have that open space and you can have that connection with each other. That's excellent. That is just fabulous. Probably why you've been together for so long.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, when I first met my husband, so the household, we are what we grow up in, right? What we learn from our parents. And
Absolutely.
so I grew up in the household that if one or the other was upset with each other, they didn't discuss it. So you could walk on eggshells around the house for like a week to 2 weeks at a time. Then all of a sudden everything was fine. And you're like going, what happened? Like you as a kid, you're like, what happened? So that's all I knew. So when I met my husband, at a young age of 19, turned 20 shortly after meeting him, if I got upset, I just shut down. And he would go, well, you got to tell me. And I would still shut down. So he finally figured out a way to get around that. He started having the conversation for me, Kari. So if I wouldn't respond, he would answer like he was me. And finally, I was like, that's not what I would not have said that to you. That's not what I would have said. So he's like, well, you're going to start telling me. And now he'll tell you I don't shut up. But, it's kind of a fun thing. But then I also like what you said about do the things that we've stopped doing, right? Like the holding hands. I remember we were driving our oldest, Matthew, who was forever 25. He was probably about a year and a half, maybe 2 years old. And I remember we were riding in the car and Chuck and I were holding hands. And I remember he was close enough in the car that he could reach with his foot and he would like kick our hands apart. It was so funny. Like he didn't want us, he didn't want to be left out of that love, And so, it's true. Like going back and like holding hands and having that physical connection is so, so important. Like we've made a commitment, like even when it comes to our sex life, like we have to make sure that that's a priority in our life, right? We can't we're too tired or too busy or whatever that is,
Well, yeah, it's really necessary. It is necessary. The wooing, the hand holding, excuse me, but getting smacked on the butt in the middle of the day while you're in the kitchen, all those little things that happened early in your relationship need to continue on, because just being separate during the day and not having any physical contact and then going into the bedroom and expecting sex, well, it doesn't work for a lot of people when that happens.
Right.
If you want me in the bedroom at night, you need to love me all day.
Right.
And it's so important, and not just for women, but for men too. Actually.
Absolutely.
They need that contact just as much as we do. So, reach out to your husband and run your fingers through his hair and let him know that you love him throughout the day. Boy, it'll change what happens in the bedroom.
Absolutely. It's so true. And then I like the last one you said about stopping the blame game. There's no need to, you don't have to be right all the time. And I think that was sort of what I grew up in, that the other person had to be right all the time. And, and like you said, like evaluate, does it really need to be, it's something that really needs to be discussed. Like what's going to change, and that's why whenever we go to each other, we're like, is it something that's really that important to me, and if it is, okay, let's
Right.
discuss it, right? But if it's something that's like, is it just going to cause hurt, and there's really nothing, what's the reason why I want to discuss it? That's really what we do. And it's really, and these things too, it's also what we've taught our kids. We've taught our kids.
Mhm.
I have friends come over. Michelle Jewsbury. She comes over here and hangs out with me often, and Chuck and I, and like before she got her place over here in Tampa, she'd come from Orlando. We do things in Tampa together. She'd hang out with us here at our home. And she used to, she always said, you guys are funny together. She's like, you guys, this communication and how we talk and banter back and forth with one another, it's kind of our love language. We joke around with one another, and that's
Right.
just that's who my husband is, and we've taught our kids that, we're proud to say that our kids, sometimes my oldest son would be like, could you guys like stop?
Well, that's pretty natural too.
Yeah.
For your oldest one to be like, but your oldest child will appreciate it later.
Yeah. Our kids
Oh.
definitely, they definitely are definitely appreciating it for sure. So as you are walking through, there's these relationships with your clients, what do you think? I'm interested to know. I kind of might have a feeling, but I would love to hear it from you. What do you think? Because I've had a couple of friends have gone for counseling, right? And they'll say,
Mhm.
well, I've gone in and we walk out, we agree we're going to do something, but the other one says, I'm not going to do that, right? So how do you help your clients work through that when you have one that just wants to work on it, but the other one's like, yeah, that's too woo woo for me, or I'm not into that.
Oh, what I find is simple. It's very simple. If a couple is overwhelmed with a giant task or a whole bunch of things that they need to do to change, look, things don't change that easily and that quickly. If they have very simple, small steps to take, very simple, small steps, then it's easy and say, I get couples go, well, yeah, we can do that. If I tell them, oh no, you need to completely change the way that you communicate with each other, and you need to do A, B, C, D, E in one session, and I give that to them, then of course they're going to balk. It's too
Right.
much, and that change is not going to happen the way they want to. But if I come in and say, for the next week, I want you to hold each other's hands at every opportunity. Well, that's not hard. They can do that. Those little tiny simple steps make great changes happen. Instead of being overwhelmed by, I have to change completely who I am and how I communicate. It's too much, and that's why they both.
Yeah, I agree with you. The baby steps. And that's what I would say to my friends. I'm like, maybe you guys just are trying to do it too fast. Maybe you're trying to do everything at one time. What's the one thing that's important to you? And they're like, and then they said, do you do couples? I'm like, I do not do couple counseling. I'm just
I
telling
hear
you,
that from a lot of coaches. They're like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. But I love it. I have a deep passion for helping people.
Yeah, and I can tell. And I would say to my friend, I'm just going to tell you, if you were sitting here, just you and I, this is what I would say, and baby step it. I think maybe you're trying to do things too fast, too much change is too overwhelming, right? Like you were
Oh
saying.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it doesn't work. And research shows us that it takes 30 days to make a change. 30
Right.
days of making a change in a habit or behavior, or and to be given a task to do 30 things in 30 days, we as human beings just are not going to do it.
Yeah, I have it, and it's so true. It's so true. I have a 30-day self-care challenge, and the whole point is at the end of the 30 days, you're doing something for yourself. So every day you're getting a new idea to do it, but it doesn't mean you have to
Right.
implement that idea today. If the idea you did yesterday works for you, do it again today. It doesn't mean you have to do something different every single day. It creates, the whole goal is to create that atmosphere that you're making that change that's important to you, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One bite, I got told a long time ago, Carrie, how do you eat an elephant?
Yes, I love
Just
it. I love
one
that.
bite at a time.
One bite at a time. I love that.
All there is to it. I've got the rest of my life here on this earth to change, grow, improve, be the best person that I can be. And I don't know when that life is over, but it doesn't matter. I just keep plugging along one bite at a time, trying to become the best person I can be for myself
Right.
and for my higher power, for my husband, for my family. You know, I just keep going.
Yes, it's so true because as long as you're making a change, that's what's so important. It's like you're doing something to improve on yourself. So in the world that we're in with women, let's talk about us girls for a second. We get so overwhelmed that we think we have to do everything, right? We think we have to
Mhm,
be the housekeeper. We think we have to be the organizer. We think we have to be creating the honey-do list, all that stuff.
mhm,
So when you work with couples, how do you, because and sometimes let's just admit it, sometimes there are some men that
mhm,
have grown up in the world where the mom, hey, my mom did everything and she didn't complain about it, right? I mean, I
mhm,
remember I remember my grandmother, Granny did everything, and before her, my great grandmother did really everything, right? So it's a
mhm,
learned thing, but we're in a world today, life is so busy. There's so much going on, sometimes we're too busy. And coming out of COVID, I was hoping that we wouldn't just dive right back into that.
yeah,
I coach my clients on that. Like, stop diving back into that. I have to something to do all the time. Let's put yourself
mhm,
back. And not that I want to have a pandemic again, but how about we go back to that time? And how was that feeling for you? You like that peace, how do we get you there? Right. So when you're working with couples and you've got that situation where one or the other, and it could be, I had a cousin, he was a stay-at-home dad and he did everything, right?
mhm,
And even he would say,
mhm,
I don't know, I get the other side now from women, but he would say the expectation that because you're home all day, or you are the spouse that doesn't have the bigger income or whatever, you should be, this should you should do, right? How do you help bring couples together that struggle with that? Because I know some of our listeners struggle with that, where they're like, I'm expected, even though I'm working out of the house, I come home and can barely make a grilled cheese sandwich, right? How do you help them, guide them through that? This is a teamwork. There's no
mhm.
I in team, right? So how do you walk couples through that might be an area that they're struggling with?
I don't, with younger couples, I don't see as much of that. But I do in the empty nesters, the midlife, I do see still a lot of that. And I really try to tell them no is a complete answer. And when a woman needs to take time for herself, it's important that she does take time for herself. My husband and there are chores he likes to do, and there are chores that I like to do. And I try to bring that into the couples, decide what you like to do and what you don't like to do. And if you have the means, pay somebody to do the ones that neither one of you like to do. Like, we don't do the yard. So, neither one of us wants to do the mowing and the trimming and things like that. So we do pay someone else to take care of that. So, it is a team effort. It is things that need to be done. And that definition doesn't need to be male or female. The woman could like to take out the trash, but absolutely hate to mop the floors. And the guy, I mean, it doesn't have to be defined that way. What chores do you like to do, or what chores are you willing to do? And just divide the responsibilities. When there are children at home, it's a total team effort. There cannot be and I teach my younger couples this. There cannot be this is what you do or this is what you do. It's got to be you see it needs to be done and get it done. There is no definition when you have where children are involved. It's, you know, one's dealing with one child, another's dealing with another child. The dishwasher is going, the laundry is going, the that's life. Those things all happen. If you see it needs to be done, do it. You know, the definition of this is mine and I do this, or this is mine and I do that, when kids come along, then it all goes out the window. Just do what you got to do and take care of what you got to take care of. And that's, you know, that's what I tell. We do, you know, as women, we do get overwhelmed because we do take on more responsibilities than we actually have to. Whether it came from our childhood or society, or, you know, work a job and then do everything at home, it's our responsibility to change that. As women, it's our responsibility to say no.
Right.
You know, no complete answer. I'm not going to do everything at home and work a job outside of the home as well.
I love that no is a complete answer. So those that are listening to us, we talk about overcoming people pleasing. The big word is no, and it is a complete answer. So, and you can say it just as excitedly as you say yes, is what I love to coach my clients on. And I love that you remind us that. And it's funny because in our relationship, we've realized I don't like to put the dishes away, but I don't mind loading them. So it's like I load, he unloads, you know, I put the clothes in the washer, he takes them out, right? Like we've created this system over the years. And I remember before COVID, I was visiting, and I share this on my podcast here, so my listeners will recognize this. But my sister-in-law, Melissa, I was visiting them, and my nephew was like 3 or 4 years old. He was definitely pre-K. And she's like, hey, you want to come upstairs? Sean's got to put his clothes away. You want to come up and join us? I'm like, sure. So I was like, wait, he's putting his clothes away? And she's like, listen, I don't care how well they get put away or not, but the act of understanding this is a team effort, that I'm not your housekeeper. I'm not your maid. You know, I'm not your laundry girl. I'm here to do this as a team. And so it's really cool to watch that happen. I was like, oh my gosh. So I looked at her, and that's where I penned, and I have a friend that's written a book with the same title, but I penned to her. I go, oh, so really you're the CEO, mom, of this household. She's like, absolutely. This is a business. We're running it like a business. I'm like, I love that approach. You know, it's such a cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, if we get stuck in children doing things perfectly, then we're wasting our time. Just getting them into the habit of self-care is the important thing. And so it doesn't go into the closet just exactly, or into the drawers just exactly how it's supposed to go. You know, that's honed over time. But, you know, my kids were 3, 4 years old, and they were doing basic chores, you know, things that they were able to do. And I was not critical of how. I was appreciative that they did it.
Right.
You know,
yeah.
And to build their self-esteem for doing that.
And I love too how you talk about communicating about, hey, what do you like to do? What do you not like to do? It's, you know, that's so important. And we actually did that because our 2 boys, they're like, I don't like to do this. And, you know, so it's like, okay. So, or then one week, like, I do that all the time. So we finally came up with a system that said, give us your favorite things you don't mind doing. And we divided the list by that. And then what we would do is we would have a conversation, say, okay, we get you don't like to do this, but sometimes you have to do that. And we would, the stuff that neither one of them like to do, we would switch them up between them, you know? And so it was like this whole teaching them how to negotiate, right? That was a whole other part of it. And we had this amazing book, Kari. So we went to a counselor one time trying to figure out how to get these kids to like understand they got to get these chores done, or there's consequences, right? And we came up with these 2 books, and there are point systems. And because I would get so mad if they had dishes to do and the dishes were still in the sink, it would just drive me nuts. And my counselor's like, why are you letting it drive you crazy? If they don't get it done, they don't get it done. Don't you do it? Because I was like, then I have to do it. They're like, no, because eventually, and I'm like, wait a minute. Eventually, I'm not going to have dishes in the house. And they're like, yeah, but they still have to do it. You're taking away the opportunity that they have to complete that task. So we came up with these 2 books that each had their own binder. And in the binder, I kept every day a note of what they got, if they got it done or not. And then they said, take pictures, because they're going to tell you, oh, I did do it that day. So I would do a screenshot and I would have it. And so at the end of the week, we would have a meeting, and all the things they got done, they got points for. All the things they didn't get done, they lost points. And based on the points they got, we put a dollar value to each point. And so that's how they earn their allowance for the week. And so let me just tell you, the first month was rough. So if you're listening to this and you want to try it, it was rough because they're like, I did that. And I have to go, let me show you the picture, but eventually they got that, we met business and it included schoolwork. Like we tied that all in because, I mean, let's get it. As parents, we fight over, did you get your homework done? This whole thing. And at the end of the week, we would review it like, well, this is what I have from your teacher. You didn't get this done. So those points. So they really started to become such a great habit that they would be able to tell me their points at the end of the week. Right. And I said, okay, let's compare your notes, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was powerful.
Oh, yeah. That is very powerful.
Yeah.
And it is a great lesson in responsibility. And
right.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's cool, Pearl.
Thank you. So let's talk about self-care as couples, right? We get so busy. We're talking about the things here, we get busy with work. We get busy taking care of things at home. If you've got kids, that whole balance. So often I remember, Chuck and I would make sure we'd have our date nights. We live near no family. So we had no family support. So if you're listening to this and you tell me, or you're listening going, I have nobody here, I'm going to tell you, we figured it out. Like our family was all out of state. So it was just the four of us. So we created this time for us to do things together. Sometimes it was after they went to bed. We made sure we had a movie or whatever we wanted to watch. But other times it was going out, and hiring a babysitter, right? So how do you help couples when you're working with them, help them wrap their head around that you have to have time for yourself, but also walk them through on how to incorporate self-care? Because I can tell you, as I coach women individually, they'll tell me, well, my kids think I'm being selfish if I'm not with them. My husband thinks I'm neglecting him. All these things. So we come up with ideas of things they can do with their kids and things they can do with their spouse, as well as keeping them self-centered and their own self-care. So how do you help couples start incorporating self-care into their relationship?
Self-care for themselves? Is that what you're asking?
I would say self-care as a couple.
As a couple. Oh, that's a lot easier than it seems to them. Yes, a time after the kids go to bed. Kids need a bedtime. If you're unwilling to put the kids to bed before you go to bed and you go to sleep when the kids go to sleep, then you're sacrificing your time together. And it is so important that they get their sleep. And it's also important that you get your alone time. I have a PDF that has 50 things that couples can do for fun. Is what it's called. And there's so much that you can do. It's such, date night can be at home. You cook your favorite hors d'oeuvres. You make a makeshift tent in the living room. Pretend that you're out camping and you're there. So the kids are in the next room. And you've saved on babysitting, going out to dinner, renting, or going to the movie theater. You can create those memories together, and you can have absolute fun together. And that quality time can happen. Then another time of day, and there are a lot of people who don't think about this, but if the two of you get up an hour earlier than the kids, you can have quality time in the morning, just being together. Have your breakfast together, just the two of you together, and sit there and talk about what's coming up for the day. You can make the time to do that.
Those are great ideas. A tent whoever thought tent in the living room? That's so much fun. And yeah. And you're right. You can get creative, and like if you're able to do something during the day while they're at school, even there's creative ways that you can do that. People thought I was crazy. We actually even went on a cruise without our kids. Like I won a cruise from where I lived in Virginia. I did mortgages, and I was the top 5 mortgage broker in the company, and so I won a cruise with the team. And so we had 2 times we had my parents come and stay with the kids, but the other time the couple across the street, their daughter came and stayed with our kids for the week. We left everything in check for what they would need if something had happened. But we even went on a cruise together without our kids. So And then our first cruise we moved here to Florida. We did a cruise, I think it was 2008. And it was so much fun because the kids went and did the kids stuff. So we could still do the adult stuff, So having that balance, those checks and balances, you can make it work.
Absolutely. And I will tell you, for a family vacation, cruises are some of the greatest values. They really are. Because if you add up the dollars for going on to a vacation in the hotel, and these days even campers cost a lot of money, and then all of the things that go along with it. If you add up the dollars for that and then you add up the dollars for what a cruise costs, it's a lot less actually. So, cruises are great options for families, but even camping, there's so much that you can do together as a family, of course, but as a couple, yeah, go on that cruise. My kids take vacations away from their children. They do. They go off on a cruise or they go to a different country. They have the means to be able to do that, but they take like a week a year where they
That's
just
awesome.
stop and they are together and romantic, and it's just the two of them, and it really does help their love to survive. But if you are not financially able to do something like that, you are financially able to just take off and go camping for a week.
Right.
Most people are able to get away for a couple of days even, or an overnight.
Right.
You can go to the same town you're in and pay for a hotel room and just spend that. You can check in at 3 o'clock and you don't have to check out until 11 o'clock the next morning or noon. And you can spend that whole time together just having fun and being together, and showers. And we could go on and on about all the stuff that can happen, but it's so key and essential as a couple that you spend that quality time together.
It's so true. It's so, so true. So what is your favorite thing you and your husband like to do for self-care? What's some of the things you guys like to do
together? Oh, yeah, I know. We're a little bit older, and sometimes people might think that it's pretty boring, but he and I love to get into very philosophical discussions. We like to really look at the world's problems and social problems and relationship problems, and really get into these long, beautiful discussions. And we'll sit outside and enjoy, our patio and just have these beautiful discussions. And we do like to go on cruises. The two of us are big cruise people. We do like to go on cruises.
It sounds like fun. Chuck and I do the same thing. We'll have long conversations about, like you said, whatever's happened in the world, or, whatever. It's so much fun because, like, when my younger son comes home and he goes to the doctor, so he'll stop in, haircut, whatever. He lives here in town too, but he'll stop in for a little bit. And I'll sit back and I watch the two of them banter back and forth on conversations. It's so much fun to watch. They're both old souls, I call them, and it's so fun to watch their different perspectives come to fruition. So, so tell me, Kari, I'm looking at the clock. We're flying by in time. I'm having so much fun in this conversation. So tell me, what's some of your favorite things? Oftentimes we're entrepreneurs. Oftentimes we forget to stop and do things for ourselves, right? We're talking about self-care and things like that. And then sometimes, like we said earlier, we have this guilt, especially as women, we carry this guilt about doing something for ourselves. In 2015, I took an identity and destiny course. And at the end of the 6 weeks, I had to give an I am statement. And through that course, I realized I didn't learn anything over 6 weeks. I was still saying I was a wife, a mom first, right? And I had a friend call me out of that. So I went on this journey to figure out who I am, what I want, and what are my goals and visions in life. And so as I did that, I realized I have to take some time for myself as well. So once a quarter, I do a staycation, and a lot of times it involves me doing something around my business, but it allows me to get away from everything, work on myself, work on my business. But sometimes I've gone here locally, got a hotel right in the beach, and just sat in my PJs for overnight, like what you were saying, from 3 to 11 o'clock the next day, right? And so what are some of your favorite things that you like to do by yourself? And what's your favorite getaway you've done by yourself?
Uh, every morning I get up very, very early. And every morning I say out loud, I am a child of God. And I watch the sunrise and I get in touch with Kari every morning. And then I take care of me for at least an hour before I enter the world and enter anything else. I watch the birds and the trees and I meditate and I spend time alone with just me and my God. Um, my and I have had staycations. I am a big fan of Arkansas, and I love to go to Eureka Springs, Arkansas. That is a spiritual place that I love to go. I have friends there, and um, I it's just time alone, just for me, and I spend time going to massage therapist and a reflexologist and just taking care of my body and my soul for a week. That's my favorite place to escape to.
That sounds beautiful. I'm ready to go. Let's go now.
Yeah,
Let's go now.
it is very, very beautiful there. It really,
Yeah.
truly.
So tell everybody, Kari, where they can find you. And if there's anything you were giving away or anything, go ahead and share that now. And for everybody's listening, we'll put this in the show notes so you can find it as well.
Right. Anybody can find me on highestintentcoach.com. I have blogs and everything that is available to get in touch with me is there. You can book a conversation with me. I do not charge for that conversation, so you can book it at any time. And what else did I need to tell you?
Your social media?
Yeah, I have social media. You can find me on Facebook or LinkedIn or Twitter or Instagram. You can find me all of those places. I do have a book, and it's called "Get Out of the Box and Into Play: The Secret to a Lasting Relationship." And you can find that on Amazon.
Awesome. We'll make sure everybody gets those links as well. So I forewarned Kari before we got on that we're going to do the card pull. So
Oh yeah, cool beans.
yeah. So our Better Questions, Better Life. So if you're listening to us, you're driving, these are amazing cards. You can go to betterquestionsbetterlife.com. I get no kickback. There's no affiliation, but I just can tell you they've made a difference in my life, a difference in my older son's life before he passed last year. So I just want you to know these are amazing, amazing cards. So betterquestionsbetterlife.com. So Kari's going to tell me when to stop, and we're going to answer the card that we pull. So here we go, Kari. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Oh, okay. Okay, yours is, what is your genius?
What is my genius?
Mm-hmm.
My genius is my intuition, my ability to intuit information from other people so that I can help them.
I love that. And I think a lot of coaches can say they kind of have that as well, right? They're, empaths and things like that. They,
Right.
That experience. And so, so we have to remember that if you're listening to us, if you, that intuitive, if you think you've got some of that, definitely follow through on it. Go check it out and see what it can do for you and for other people as well. Cause it's so
Yeah.
powerful. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we all have some level of intuition. We
Yes.
do. You can improve that and make that bigger and create a beautiful ability to intuit what other people are feeling and thinking and doing. It's pretty cool.
Well, I want to thank you so much for joining us today. And if you're listening to us wherever you're at, we just want you to know that you'll be able to get all this information Kari shared in the show notes. Follow us on YouTube and go like us at wsliving.com. We have all kinds of information there as well. And also, we do have our retreat coming up. And so there are 2 spots, depending on when you're listening to this, there's 2 spots left, but we're also filling up next year's retreat. So if you are looking to do something for yourself, really step into your self-care, do it with a lot of fun. We come up and you join our retreat. We're completely in our PJs the entire weekend. There's no makeup. and we have a lot of fun, and you get to meet some amazing PJ sisters. We'd love to have you join us as well. But I just want to remind you that you can check us out at wslivingretreats.com. And just remember, you guys, you come into this world, you are this oyster on the outside, you're a little rough on the outside. But as you start working on doing some of the things that Kari's talked today as a couples, and also as how I coach you about becoming that shiro that you are, I want you to know that inside you have this amazing pearl, and I want you to go out and find your inner pearl today. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a